What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 22 Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day as you see the beautiful sights and scenes of Melbourne here as we touch down and we're ready for our third race weekend in Formula One of our rookie season so far here. It's been an interesting start to this season. We have out-qualified our teammate Mick Schumacher in both events so far, in Bahrain as well as Jeddah there, most recently in Saudi Arabia. However, although we've out-qualified him, he has actually outraced us in the both races so far. So today we're trying to change that and actually, finish better than Mick has, who's been in the points both races. We were still in the points in Jeddah there with our first point in Formula One history, actually, for our own career, and that was a P10 finish. Now, as we were focusing in on the Formula One Melbourne Australian Grand Prix, very excited for this one. I myself really love the newest configuration of Australia. I was never a huge fan of this circuit before, but I really do enjoy this circuit now with the new layout. It is so much better to drive on here now, as we would get to do exactly that here in free practice one now, as we were looking to, of course, beat the time delta in the race strategy program on this medium compound tire, and we didn't really have much issue at all. The car was overall driving pretty good. In Jeddah, I was dealing with some understeer issues. In this one, I had a little bit more oversteer throughout this Grand Prix weekend here, so I was way more comfortable when a car is oversteery. I really do enjoy a car when it gets a little bit looser. I think that probably helps when I come from an oval racing background with a car getting oversteery. It's just a very common and normal thing that drivers look for on the oval racing side now, as you can see. So going positive on the time delta every single lap here. We actually ended up P2 in free practice one, but take that as usual with a grain of salt, as that really doesn't mean anything. I never really take the free practice one results into any consideration for the weekend here now, as we would jump through though into qualifying after doing the quick practice programs for the other free practice 2 and 3 here. Now, as we put that beautiful fish helmet on, now this fish helmet is basically irrelevant until it rains, and we haven't even had like a speck of rain this season yet. I can confirm we're not going to see that either today. No rain in the forecast here in Melbourne. You get like 50-50 here. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't, but one of the tracks where it's like a 50-50 chance here now, as this was our first attempt here in Q1, and overall it was a relatively competitive lap here. Now, I really wish we could make it into Q2 on just one set of soft compound tire, so that way we could have 2 sets of soft compound tires later, but we haven't quite had that luxury yet. So coming through though to cross the line in our first attempt, it was P3, but by the time we got to the end of the session here for our final lap, we were down to P14, so a little bit concerning. We got through turn 1 really well, and here as we came through turn 3, we actually gained over 1/10 of a second, so things were continuing to get better and better as this lap went on. So nothing but positives here on this second lap, and we were in very much desperate need of that. You can see I do go wide and nearly invalidate my lap time, but we go up to P9 here, so that's going to be an easy cruise into Q2, but we did drop to P13. Our teammate Mick Schumacher, who's maybe half a tenth behind me, is down in P15, just barely making it into Q2. So both Haas cars do advance now, as we would get our attempt underway, and it would be late in the session. One attempt late in Q2 on the soft compound tire. This is the only set of soft compound tires that we had available to us here in Q2. This is what I really am talking about, is how I want to save set of softs in Q1 so I can have an extra for Q2, and because we would have the medium compound tire that would get us nowhere, and that's why I don't put it on for Q2. So nonetheless, so we were looking pretty decent. It wasn't the best thing in the world in terms of the lap that we were putting down, and you can see Schumacher was only P14, so he didn't do much, but I didn't do as much either. Here as we came through, opening that rear wing DRS wide open down the front straightaway for the final attempt here. Now we're going to cross the line, P14. Now I actually decided, you know what, let's go for a second attempt. Let's keep it going here. We don't have a whole lot of battery to work with, so we might run out of battery actually on this lap, but if I can just run a good enough lap, it might be okay. Schumacher would actually one-up me. He goes up into P14 again, so we do need a better lap, obviously, if we want to beat him. And actually, as you can see, as we come through this final sector, we have basically no battery whatsoever, so now it's all about just putting in the lap time here as we come through the final couple of corners. A little bit cautious there into the penultimate turn through the right sweeping final turn, get that power down. We lose a little bit of time. We're going to lose even more right down the straightaway because we have 0 battery to work with, but we still actually go faster and even beat Schumacher, and we also beat Zhou Guanyu. So we go P13 as well. Very happy with that result, especially with the fact that we had no battery. So now we are 3-0 in qualifying against our teammate of Mick Schumacher. Let's head to the grid.
The crowd are here, and it's brilliant to see them lining the track here in Albert Park. It's going to be a fantastic day of racing. Welcome everybody to the Australian Grand Prix. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit, 3.28 miles around, with the streets making for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 14 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Leclerc, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, Ocon, and Pierre Gasly, Bottas, Golden Boy, Guan Yu Zhou, and Mick Schumacher, Russell, Vettel, Alex Albon, and Nicholas Latifi, Stroll, and Yuki Tsunoda. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
We are ready to go, lights out here. It's going to be a medium to hard compound tire strategy. Once again, let's head to the grid for the formation lap.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
I'm going to try to get the best start I can today, boys. I've struggled with the first 2 weeks, but let's make it happen. There you hear myself on the radio too. The team, George Russell, starting a little bit further down the grid with his grid penalty, as we have some work to do, like we just said on the radio there to the Haas team. We've struggled so far in the first 2 Grand Prix in Bahrain and Jeddah on the just opening start, so we're looking to have a decent start here today as we are about to go lights out. There, as you see, an AlphaTauri all the way at the back of the grid there, joining up with Sebastian Vettel now, as it's about to be 5 red lights here from the Australian Grand Prix. It's lights out. It's a very quick release for Max Verstappen, who's able to easily get a good jump there over Charles Leclerc, and you can see Leclerc's under attack from both Perez and Leclerc's teammate of Carlos Sainz. I believe there were 3 wide briefly as they come through the exit of turn 1, and Leclerc actually completely backed out of it and lost multiple positions. He goes from second, passed by Perez, passed by Carlos Sainz, passed by Lewis Hamilton as well. So a very rough start for Charles Leclerc, side by side there in the background. It's Pierre Gasly as well as Esteban Ocon side by side. Ocon's going to be able to come out on top of that battle from the looks of it here now, as everybody's actually able to get sorted out here. Single file already on this opening lap, but now we head towards this high-speed sweeping right-left handed section here. Now, one of the best parts of this circuit right here. You can really get some high speeds and, of course, get that slipstream and make a pass as you head down into the chicane that everybody is heading down into right now. I am all over the back of Valtteri Bottas. I needed a good start. I got a good start, but a bit of a hiccup right there. We get sideways on the exit of the chicane, so maybe things start to go a bit downhill from here. Here's Zhou Guanyu, a bar inside. I brake a little bit early here. We're 3 wide into the braking zone. Zhou Guanyu locks up, and we nearly run into the back of him. I think we might have actually made contact, but because of his error, we lose a ton of track position, including a spot to our teammate of Mick Schumacher, who we're currently 0-2 against in the races in this season. So now we drop all the way down to P16. One little mistake that was, kind of made by myself put us a little bit vulnerable, as you can see as well. Actually, at the end of the lap, Esteban Ocon's coming to the pits, and so is Lance Stroll. They're getting brand new front wings, so the battles would continue as I would immediately get to the back of Nicholas Latifi here down the long straightaway again, if you want to call it a straightaway, and I would be able to pass him there for position. So we move back up into P14, but a hectic first lap here, or I guess I should say a hectic last half of the first lap, I guess, now as we continue, though, trying to close in on the battles in front of us here. Zhou Guanyu, Mick Schumacher, George Russell. Russell was on his way forwards here towards the top 10. Now as the battles as well up front, we're starting to spice up. This is Sergio Perez. Not very often we see Perez run down Max Verstappen and pass him, but it wasn't over. Carlos Sainz putting pressure now on the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Isn't quite able to make anything happen right there. Almost looks like Verstappen's got a problem with the car. He might be a little bit off the pace, because you can see Perez is already 1.2 seconds away, and is as well, you can see that Carlos Sainz, even as Verstappen has DRS, Sergio Perez, he's continuing to stay well ahead, 1.2 seconds, but Carlos makes a move into turn 1. Verstappen misses the braking zone and completely runs off track and into the gravel. He's trying to get out of it as quick as he can, and you can see the replay right there. Locks up the right front off circuit. He goes on board with Carlos Sainz there now, as I thought originally there might have been some contact between the two drivers, but there was not. So Max Verstappen, who's won both Grand Prix so far this season, in just 3 laps, everything has gone downhill for him here in Australia. However, I'm sure he's still going to get a pretty competitive finish here, as I got a warning for exceeding track limits. Now, Verstappen also pitted at the conclusion of that same lap. Not quite sure why, but he was in the pit lane. He was behind us trying to make his way forward here now after a very rough start there for the Red Bull driver and the defending World Drivers Champion from the 2021 season. As you can see, myself just barely sticking within that DRS range of Zhou Guanyu, but we were starting to get a little bit closer and closer, but the battles were continuing around the circuit here. Lap 9, here's Fernando Alonso now making a move to the outside of Lando Norris, but see the contact right there between the two drivers, but I think Alonso's going to get the spot. Norris, so again, runs wide into the side of Alonso. What are you doing, Lando, there? I don't have a clue what he was trying to do in that corner. He just completely missed the apex, and you see he doesn't pit, so there's no damage there, and then the battles continue even further. Here's George Russell, lap 10, all over the back of Daniel Ricciardo, who misses the braking zone and runs wide. He at least holds on to a top 10 running position right there, but a very hectic Grand Prix so far, and pit stops as well. We're just moments from getting underway here on starting lap 13. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc into the pits. I swear these two, like, they love to pit together on the same lap as well. Max Verstappen, but he was of course in his own land in this Grand Prix, but I was coming in moments later right behind Valtteri Bottas actually here as we head into the pit lane, and it's going to be that one-stop strategy as usual onto the hard compound tire. I mean, I will forever hate one-stop strategies. It's just not exciting, but it is kind of the name of the game with the new tire regulations in 2022, which makes zero sense. But nonetheless, we exit our pit lane after a competitive pit stop there with a 2.5 or so second pit stop here. Now, as you can see, though, we exit a ways behind Bottas, and now we of course have to get these hard compound tires warmed up as quick as possible, and that has certainly been a weakness of my own. As you can see, lap 17, after everything had cycled out, here comes Max Verstappen up the inside, passing myself. I lost quite a bit of ground getting these tires up to temperature, so Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, and Schumacher were way ahead.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
Well, that's the first time we have heard that message from Mark this season so far. So will we go 1-0 for mechanical failures when we get that message, or will we get lucky and maybe it's just a temporary issue and we can work our way throughout the rest of this race? We're on lap 18 already. We're coming up on just 11 laps to go here in the Australian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, he's cruising to victory right now. Got a comfortable gap on the Ferrari duo of Leclerc and Sainz. So Leclerc has had a nice recovery as the engine is going to fail, and that's going to be our first first retirement in our Formula One career due to a mechanical issue. Nothing we can do about that. Absolutely heartbreaking here as the engine is going to fail as we try to find and navigate our way to safety. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, boys. Engine just went. Very, very heartbreaking there for that to happen to us. Unfortunate now as we pull out of the Grand Prix and call it a day here in the Australian Grand Prix.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here.
Well, a little bit of a quicker episode, or shorter episodes, I should say, as we are unfortunately out early. You see Perez still would hang on to the victory. We are 3 races in. We have yet to see a safety car. Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton, of course, joining Perez on the podium. And as well, you can see Charles Leclerc's name is nowhere to be found. Verstappen rebounded to 7th, by the way. But Leclerc also would be a retirement here at DNF, so I'm assuming a mechanical failure as well. So we weren't the only one, at least. Perez closes the gap a little bit to Verstappen, only 16 points behind in the Drivers' Championship. Sainz up to 3rd. Russell and Leclerc both drop down. Hamilton moves up to 8th after he finally finishes the race for the first time this season. Now, as always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. We have some more upgrades to the car on the way. In the next one, we have Imola with a sprint race as well for the first time this season, and I will see you guys in that one, and hopefully we can have a nice recovery. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day.